Two strangers wake up in an elevator with no memory of how they got there. They're greeted by a bartender named Decim in a bar where the drinks are free, but the stakes are deadly. They're told they must play a game and their lives depend on it. But here's the catch. They're already dead. This isn't just about winning or losing. It's about who gets a second chance and who disappears forever. But what if the judgment is wrong? After entering the bar, the couple is told they must play a game to leave. Decim, the bartender, shows them a dartboard. It seems simple. 10 darts each, highest score wins. But then he tells them something strange. Every section of the board is connected to a part of the other person's body. If she hits the 7, he feels pain in his stomach. If he hits the 15, she feels it in her shoulder. At first, they think it's just a joke. But the moment the dart lands, real pain hits. They both look confused, scared even. Still, they continue the game. As the throws continue, small memories start to come back. They remember arguments. They remember someone cheating. Slowly, things start to make sense. But one thing's still not clear. Why are they really here? Takashi and Machiko agree to miss the dartboard. Neither of them wants to cause pain. For 4 turns, they throw wide. No one scores. No one hurts. But Takashi remembers the bodies hanging in that dark room, and the words, "You're staking your life on this game." He hesitates, then throws his 6th dart. It hits the board. Machiko feels pain and cries out. Takashi is shocked. He apologizes right away. Machiko takes her turn. She also hits, and Takashi winces in pain. That's when doubt starts to creep in. He looks at her, wondering, did she do it on purpose? Machiko insists it was an accident, but Takashi doesn't respond. Then comes his final dart. Just before he throws, Machiko grabs her stomach. She begs him not to aim there, says she's pregnant. She wanted to tell him during their honeymoon. Takashi freezes. Slowly, he starts to believe her. He hugs her, apologizes, and says he's ready to be a father. But as he releases the dart, a memory flashes, a conversation from their wedding day, someone mentioning Machi and her secret lover. The dart lands in the stomach zone. Now Takashi's doubts grow louder, and the cracks in their trust begin to break wide open. What happens next might break more than just hearts. Takashi picks up Machiko's final dart. He believes the game is rigged, that it was never about fairness. He questions the rules, asks Decim what happens to the winner, but gets no clear answer. As he prepares to throw, he mocks Machiko. Always the winner at home, huh, Machi? But then, Machiko interrupts. She says, Machi isn't even my nickname. It's Yuki Machida's. Takashi's expression changes. Panic, regret. He realizes he might have been wrong all along. He stumbles forward to apologize, but Machiko snatches the dart. A series of soft flashbacks play. Their spring drives, gentle kisses, the moment she took the pregnancy test, and their wedding. Machiko throws. Bullseye. She wins. Takashi breaks down. He tries pulling the darts from the board, desperate to redo it all. But then, Decim calmly says it. You're both already dead. Everything crashes around them. The truth? They died in a car crash caused by Takashi's jealousy. As he begs for answers, Machiko coldly says, I married you for your money. Was it real? Or just her way of letting him go? Judgment is coming. But who truly deserves the void? Welcome to Decim, where life after death is just a game, and it all begins when a woman with no name and no memory wakes up in a strange room, greeted by a mysterious girl named Nona. She's told she doesn't have a name because she doesn't need one. Yet Nona takes her through a dim railcar to an elevator. Inside, a quiet man named Clavis smiles and brings them to the 15th floor. They arrive at Decim, the same bar where Takashi and Machiko were judged. It's empty for now. There, they meet Decim, the emotionless bartender who serves as an arbiter. Nona explains that this is where people who've died are sent, but they don't know they're dead. They're made to believe they're still alive, and they must play a game to survive. Games reveal the truth, the darkness in their souls. But Decim isn't alone anymore. This black-haired woman is his new assistant. She's going to watch, learn, and maybe challenge how things have always been done. Nona and the woman head into a secret viewing room, lined with mannequins, Decim's hobby. The woman finds them unsettling. Nona doesn't disagree. As they sit down, lights dim, and through a panel in the wall, they watch Takashi and Machiko walk in. They're about to play the game that decides their eternal fate. The game begins. Takashi and Machiko stand in front of a dartboard, each board linked to a part of their body. Throwing a dart causes pain wherever it lands. The black-haired woman, still trying to process what's happening, watches as Takashi throws the first dart and hits Machiko. She cries out in pain, and Takashi looks horrified. But then, he realizes that it's not as simple as just winning or losing. It's about forcing the contestants to relive their most painful, vulnerable moments. But it's also about their humanity, how they deal with the fear and guilt inside them. Machiko, injured but still standing, throws her dart, missing intentionally. The woman wonders if it's a strategy to avoid hurting her husband anymore. But Nona isn't so sure. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about survival, Nona says quietly. If they lose, they die. No one truly wants to give up their life easily. Takashi, desperate, throws his next dart, and Machiko screams. Now, he's in the lead, but Nona's prediction wasn't far off. Machiko's dart throws have become increasingly erratic. They've stopped caring about the game, and now they're both trapped in a cycle of fear, pain, and regret. The black-haired woman realizes something about the nature of the games and the arbiters who judge. In a moment of clarity, Machiko admits something shocking. I'm pregnant, and this child isn't yours. Takashi's face twists with disbelief as the memories of their life together come flooding back. Nona, still watching the game unfold, explains that Takashi and Machiko's lives were full of lies and regret, but the truth of their troubled marriage only now begins to emerge as they face the consequences of their actions. The black-haired woman struggles to understand. Why did Machiko lie about the baby? Why did she try to protect Takashi's feelings? Even at the cost of her own guilt? It's about love. Machiko lied to him not out of selfishness, but out of compassion. She wanted him to be free of the guilt of thinking he killed their child. This new perspective changes everything. The black-haired woman begins to understand that emotions, things like love, guilt, and regret, are at the heart of these games, and maybe they are the key to passing judgment. But Decim doesn't see it that way. As the game ends and Machiko realizes that they are dead, he begins to explain the concept of heaven and hell, only to quickly clarify that they aren't quite what the living might think. In reality, it's a choice between the void and reincarnation. What if your last memory was of someone waving goodbye in the sunset, and the next moment, you wake up in a strange bar? A man wakes up in Decim, confused, disoriented. Beside him sits a girl he's never seen before, or so he thinks. Decim tells them they must play a game, but this time, the air feels different. The girl doesn't even remember her name, but he does, and strangely, he feels drawn to her. The roulette spins, and fate lands on bowling. But these aren't ordinary balls. They carry each other's heartbeats. He holds hers. It's racing. She holds his. It's warm. They begin to connect. He wonders, have I met her before? A flash, sunset, a little girl waving. Memories begin to flicker like ghosts in the lane. As the game continues, laughter replaces fear. They bowl, they smile, and then he asks, if I win, will you go out with me? But what they don't know is that they're already dead. She recalls a name, Chisato. He remembers her too, but the truth hasn't even started unraveling yet, because Decim just whispered something to his assistant that changes everything. Now, it really begins. They're connected, but don't know how deeply, and as Decim watches silently, something is shifting behind the scenes. She laughs naturally, softly, as if it's the first real emotion in a long time. Shigeru smiles too. This isn't like the other games. There's no panic, no betrayal, but just warmth. We've met before, haven't we? He asks again. Maybe in another life, she replies. Then, the girl drops the ball, and a sharp image cuts through her mind. She's running, calling someone's name. It hits both of them like lightning. They knew each other, but how? And why can't she remember it all? She begins to cry, not out of fear, but confusion. He holds her hand. It's okay. We'll remember. Together. She gasps suddenly. She sees it. They were childhood friends. They drifted apart, but one day they met again by chance. She had changed her name, her face. They had one last date before the accident. It was you, she whispers, trembling. I didn't want you to see me like that before I died. Then Shigeru says, I would have held your hand till the very end. Up above, Decim's hands tremble. These aren't just souls. They're people who cared, who hurt, who loved. The rules say one must must go to the void, but can he truly judge them? The elevator doors creak open. The light shines down on them both, and for the first time in this place, Decim hesitates, because maybe this game wasn't meant to decide who's damned. Maybe it was a chance to remember what it means to be human. Decim stares at the couple. The rules are clear. One to reincarnation, one to the void. But this isn't a competition. There's no anger, no hate, only forgiveness and pain. Is this what it means to live? Decim whispers. He clenches his fist. For the first time, he questions the system itself. The arbiters are not supposed to feel. They're just observers, tools. But Decim, he chooses not to send either of them to the void. He breaks the rules. He lets their memories remain as a final gift. As the elevator doors close, Shigeru holds her hand. Let's meet again, if we're lucky. A soft smile. Then they're gone. But something has changed in Decim. He whispers, I want to keep meeting people like them, because he finally understands. Judging souls isn't about punishment. It's about understanding them. A woman and a man wander through unfamiliar hallways, desperately trying door after door. Panic hides beneath their faces. They're trapped. No exit, no windows. They remember being greeted by a tall man, emotionless, pale. He told them they must play a game where stakes go far beyond winning or losing. Misaki Tachibana, confident and commanding, leads the man into the women's restroom. Her eyes shine with certainty, not of fear, but control. She tells him it's all fake, a TV prank show, cameras hidden somewhere. Maybe they're the latest contestants on a twisted version of her own reality show. She's used to being watched, used to acting. This? Just another set. Tateshi, a quiet, reserved man, doesn't seem convinced. But when Misaki turns up the charm, flirtatious and commanding, he agrees to play along. Because what other choice do they have? They return to the bar. The button is pressed, and what rises is no ordinary game, but a glowing, ominous arcade machine. The game? A one-on-one fighting match. But there's a catch. The only fighters available are digital versions of themselves. Misaki's avatar has a temptation skill. Tateshi? No abilities at all. It's best of 3. No time limit. No rules beyond the game. And Decim watches quietly, as if the real game is something far deeper. The first round begins. Tateshi, hesitant but surprisingly skilled, quickly dominates the match. His fingers move with confidence, like someone who's done this 1,000 times before. Misaki loses, gracefully, at least on the surface, but something shifts. In that moment, Misaki remembers. A teenage pregnancy, a marriage born not of love, but obligation. Her first husband, violent, angry, walking out with a suitcase and no goodbye. Then another man, and more children. More fists, more silence. She hides it well. Years of being on camera taught her that. But behind that polished smile is a woman drowning in pain, desperation. Before round 2, Misaki leans close to Tateshi, voice low, sweet but sharp. She suggests he lose this one, make it more interesting. She promises he can win the third. Tateshi hesitates, but then agrees. This time, Tateshi fights back, not entirely, but enough to make Misaki sweat. Then suddenly, snap. His joystick breaks, jerking his character into a corner. Misaki lands hit after hit, until he falls. Victory for Misaki, but not earned, not real. Tateshi's past comes flooding back. A broken home, a mother whispering that he should never have been born. Divorce, isolation, and then a new mother figure, smiling, trying to love him, but that warmth never reached him. Misaki storms off the game floor, dragging Tateshi back to the washroom again. She's angry, not because of the fight, but because something doesn't add up. Tateshi admits something chilling. He doesn't remember arriving here. One moment, he was alone in his room. And then this place. Misaki, too, starts to falter. Her memory blurs. She recalls children, many of them, with tired eyes and disappointed faces. Suddenly, this doesn't feel like a prank. It feels like judgment. She storms back out, demanding answers from Decim. There are no cameras, he replies coldly. This is not a show. Misaki's voice cracks. She pleads, then threatens, desperate to regain control. But Decim remains silent, as if the real answers can only be found by finishing the game. The third round begins, the final match, but something's changed. Misaki isn't playing just to win anymore. She's playing for understanding, for answers. And Tateshi, he's barely holding on, both to the joystick and to reality. Again, Decim interferes, cold, silent, calculated. But this time, the black-haired woman watching can't take it anymore. You're forcing it, she says. What happens next shocks everyone. Misaki snaps. She doesn't wait for the game to end. She grabs Tateshi and smashes his head into the arcade machine, over and over. She's lost herself, or maybe this is her true self. She didn't even realize what she was doing. And when she does, the horror is instant. She kneels, apologizing, trying to help Tateshi. But Decim, unmoved, tells her one thing. Finish the game. Then, the truth. Tateshi remembers standing near a window, and then he jumped. Not an accident, a choice. The one person he thought didn't care, weeping, clutching him, begging him not to die. With blood dripping down his face, he presses the final input. The match ends. In a draw, the game is over, but the real judgment begins. Yusuke now remembers everything, and so does Misaki. He sees how his apathy hurt those who loved him. She sees the monster she became, lashing out at her assistant, the very woman who once cared for her. The woman who, in the end, killed her. Misaki breaks, screams, claws at Decim. I didn't care what anyone thought, I just wanted to be happy. But her happiness always came at someone else's cost. And now, she can't escape that truth. Yet Decim doesn't punish them. He holds them, not with judgment, but with compassion. You did well, he says. Thank you for playing. The two are led to the elevators, one door to reincarnation, the other to the void. Tateshi, filled with sorrow, but also clarity, is given another chance. Misaki is sent to the void. Her pain, her rage, her violence sealed her fate. That's it for this episode, guys. Please, don't forget to subscribe, and if you want to know how it all started, you can check out the first 3 episode breakdowns. They're all up on the channel.